Did you know Spanish has 3 different ways to say you all are? Stick around as Profe Val and I dive into one of the trickiest but most useful parts of ser versus estar. Welcome to Spanglish Friends, the podcast for true beginner Spanish learners.
Hola amigos, I'm Val, your co-host and experienced Spanish teacher from Venezuela.
And I'm Em, your Australian co-host who's been learning Spanish for 10 years.
Our goal is simple, to get you confident listening and speaking in beginner Spanish with content you'll actually use in real life conversations.
Join the Spanish Friends community by subscribing wherever you listen to podcasts and following us on social media at Spanglish_friends. Let's get started.
Comencemos.
Hola, hola amigos. ¿Cómo están ustedes?
Hello, Spanglish friends, and welcome back to yet another episode on our favorite Spanish verbs, ser versus estar.
We went through the basics of ser and estar, both meaning to be, back in episode 12. If you haven't yet, go give that an episode a listen first. It will give you some really important background before today's episode. So, Em, tell us, what are we learning today to build on our knowledge of ser and estar?
By the end of today's episode, Spanglish friends, you'll be able to answer these 3 key questions. Number 1, how do we say we are in Spanish? Question number 2, how do you say they are in Spanish? And finally, question number 3 is how do you say you all are in Spanish?
Amigos, you might notice we've switched up the order of our episode today, getting you to listen to our mini conversation now.
And this is going to hopefully help you reach those aha light bulb moments later on in the podcast when you re-listen to our conversation and we play it for a second time. Once you finally understand all the theory and we break down the conversation line by line.
Exactly. So, Spanglish friends, imagine Em is visiting Spain and she walks into her Spanish class for the first time.
I wish I was traveling to Spain today. And as you listen, Spanglish friends, try and pick out some of the new pronouns that we're using, which are going to be nosotros, ellos or ellas, vosotros, and ustedes. Are you ready, Profe Val?
Sí, sí, amiga. Comencemos.
Hola, ¿tú eres la profesora de español nueva?
Hola, sí, yo soy la profesora de español. ¿Y ustedes son mis estudiantes?
Sí, nosotros somos estudiantes de español.
Gracias. ¿Vosotros estáis en el nivel 1?
No, ellos están en nivel 1, nosotros estamos en nivel 2. Can you believe, Spanglish friends, that you'll be able to understand this whole conversation that Profe Val and I just had in under 10 minutes? Let's start the timer and jump into what you need to know to understand everything we were saying.
So good. You probably recognized, Spanglish friends, that we used some familiar pronouns like tú or yo from episode 12, but also heard some new ones like vosotros, ustedes, and more. Let's unpack these new pronouns and answer those 3 key questions so everything becomes clear.
Absolutely. So let's just quickly clarify before jumping into our first question. What are pronouns?
Pronouns are the small but powerful words that replace nouns in a sentence. They help us avoid repeating names or specific things, like saying she instead of repeating my name, Val.
That's right. So, for example, the sentence Val is Venezuelan, right, becomes ella es. She is Venezuelana. The word ella is the pronoun that replaces the noun Val.
Today, we are going to focus on 3 new pronouns.
That's right. So without further ado, let's answer our first question of the day. How do we say we in Spanish? Okay, what are the 2 pronouns that we use for we?
you'd use the pronouns nosotros or nosotras.
Okay, so there's two different versions here. Nosotros is used for a group of people that includes at least one man, or it's a group consistent of men, okay? Nosotras is only used when the group that we're referring to, when we say we, is entirely comprised of women, female identifying individuals.
Exactly. If the group is mixed, like men and women in the same group, always use nosotros, because the general rule in Spanish says that if we have a mix, we need to use always the masculine plural form.
Now let's learn how to conjugate both the verbs ser and estar, which both mean to be, with those new pronouns, nosotros and nosotras.
Yes, the conjugations with ser are nosotros, somos, and nosotras, somos, both conjugated the same. The conjugation with estar are nosotros, estamos, and nosotras, estamos.
That's great. So let's bring it to life. An example using the verb ser, we could say, Val y yo, nosotras somos amigas. We are friends. An example using estar, I could say, nosotros estamos muy cansados. This is a sentence which means we are, nosotros estamos muy cansados, very tired.
Remember, friends, in the second sentence, nosotros could refer to a mixed group or a group of men. If it were just women, you could say nosotras estamos muy cansadas.
That's right. So it's very important here to match both the pronoun and the ending of the adjective when you speak.
Exactly. Now, let's move to our second question of the day. How do we say they in Spanish? What are the two pronouns to refer to they?
Spanish gives us two versions. Again, you're probably noticing a pattern here, a masculine and a feminine form. We have ellas, which is feminine, and ellos, which is masculine for they.
Just like before, ellos is used for a group of all men or a group mixed genders, and ellas is used exclusively for a group of women.
Now, let's conjugate these pronouns with ser and estar, okay? The conjugations with the verb ser are ellas or ellos son. It means they are. With the verb estar, we would say ellos or ellas están, which means they are.
We can say, for example, they are teachers, which would be ellos son profesores. And another example with estar, they are happy. If it is a group of just women, we could say ellas están felices. They are happy.
Great. This brings us, Spanglish friends, to our third and final bit of theory for the day. How do you say the last pronoun we need to learn? You all in Spanish. And as we teased at the start, there are 3 different ways to say you all. Val, what are the pronouns we need to learn to say you all?
In Spanish, there are 3 different options depending on where you are in the world.
The main difference is if you're in Latin America or speaking to someone from Latin America, we're talking Central America, South America, the standard way to say you all is ustedes, okay? In Spain, however, they will mainly use vosotros, or they also have vosotras for female groups. So these are the 3 different conjugations. You've got ustedes, vosotros, and vosotras.
So, let's conjugate it, testing your memory here.
Yes, absolutely. Vosotros o vosotras sois, okay? And with estar, it's vosotros o vosotras estáis.
Examples with the verb ser with vosotros. We could say vosotros sois estudiantes. And with estar, we could say vosotras estáis en clase. Vosotras estáis en clase.
Yes. So Val just said you are all students. Vosotros sois estudiantes. You are all students. Now that could be a mixed group of students or a single gender group of students, male students. And she also said vosotros estáis en clase. You are all in class. She said a location. You are all in class. Again, that would just be a group of female identifying individuals because we've used vosotras in that instance. So that's what you would hear in España, in Spain. What about in Latin America? Let's use ustedes. With the verb ser, you would say ustedes son. Now, with the verb estar, we say ustedes están. Examples. We've said, you could say, ustedes son estudiantes. Okay, we've said, you are all students. Example with estar. Ustedes están en la clase. We've said, you are all in class.
Amazing explanation, and thank you. So remember, amigos, in Latin America, use ustedes, but in Spain, use vosotros for a group of men or mixed gender, or vosotras for a group of just women.
You've officially learnt everything you need to know to unpack our conversation of the day. We're going to play it again for you now. This time, try to actively pick out when we've used the 3 new sets of pronouns that we've introduced today. Are you ready, Profe Val, for round 2?
Amiga, sí. Comencemos.
Hola, ¿tú eres la profesora de español nueva?
Hola, sí, yo soy la profesora de español. ¿Y ustedes son mis estudiantes?
Sí, nosotros somos estudiantes de español.
Gracias. ¿Vosotros estáis en el nivel 1?
No, ellos están en nivel 1, nosotros estamos en nivel 2. How did you go, Spanglish friends? Did you catch us using those 3 sets of pronouns? Let's break down this mini conversation so you can confidently say with 100% certainty that you understood everything that we said.
Okay. Entonces, Emma started with tú. She said, ¿tú eres la profesora? Are you, tú eres, the Spanish teacher, la profesora?
The teacher, Profe Val, replied with, yo soy la profesora.
Then M used nosotros somos estudiantes de español. Breaking the sentence down, she said, nosotros somos, we are estudiantes de español. The Spanish students, but would be more like the students of Spanish. Remember that we flipped the order of the adjective with the noun. She correctly said we are all with a mixed group from nosotros.
Now, Val responded and said, vosotros estáis en nivel 1. She said, vosotros estáis, which is, are you all? Then she said, en, which we know means en nivel 1. The word nivel means level, and we know uno means 1. So can you guess what she said? She said, are you all in level 1?
In Latin America, I would have instead said, ustedes están en el nivel 1.
Yes. And then I replied to finish the conversation. I clarified by saying, no, ellos están en nivel 1. I pointed at a group of people that was not me, and I said, no, they are in level 1. Ellos están en nivel 1. Okay? I clarified that nosotros estamos en nivel 2. So I said, no, they are in level 1. Ellos están en nivel 1. But nosotros estamos, we are en nivel 2, in level 2.
Yes. Woohoo! Can you believe that, Spanglish friends, that now you can understand this simple conversation and have a similar conversation right now in basic Spanish?
Go, friends! Now, before we do our recap of today's lesson, it's time for our Spanglish Friend Shout-Out of the week.
Yes! This week's shout-out goes to Tommy from Australia. He commented great examples on episode 12 using estar. He said, yo estoy en mi casa. I am at home. And he said, tú estás en Australia. You are in Australia. And he also said, yo soy australiano. I am Australian. Awesome, Tommy.
Great practice there, Tommy. Thank you for getting involved in our reto of the day, our challenge of the day. And Spanglish friends, if you want to get a shout out in an upcoming episode, stick around for today's reto, our challenge of the day, and get involved because we might pick you for that upcoming shout out.
Awesome. Spanglish friends, now, if you remember just 3 things from today's episode, you'll be on your way to mastering ser and estar as a beginner. So here we go. Let's learn these 3 things. Number 1, número uno, how to say we. We say nosotros. Remember, for a mixed group of people or a group with just men, and nosotras for a group of just women. And conjugating this with ser, we can say nosotros somos or nosotras somos. And conjugating this pronoun with estar, we would say nosotros estamos and nosotras estamos. Number 2, número 2. How to say they? We say ellos again for a mixed group or group of men, and ellas for a group of women. Conjugating this with ser, we would say ellos son or ellas son. And conjugating this with estar, we would say ellos están or ellas están. And last one, number 3, número 3. How to say you all? Ustedes if you are in South America, or vosotros, vosotras if you are in Spain. Conjugating these pronouns with ser, we would say ustedes son. And with vosotros, we would say vosotros sois and vosotras sois. To conjugate with estar, we would say ustedes están and vosotros estáis and vosotras estáis.
Woohoo! Okay, you know how to say we are, they are, and you all are in Spanish. And if you don't think you've nailed this 100% in your memory, don't threat Spanglish Friends, because we share a cheat sheet each week on Instagram with a summary of the key takeaways from each episode, which will include the pronouns we've spoken about today and all of these conjugations. So you can save this tool and use it for practice for free. So don't forget to check out our Instagram page.
Awesome. Now on to our reto of the week, our challenge of the week.
Our reto is to choose one of the pronouns we've learnt today, nosotras, nosotros, ellos, ellas, ustedes, vosotros, vosotras, and write one sentence using the verb ser or estar in the comments.
For example, amigos, you could say, nosotros estamos en casa. We are at home. We can't wait to see your answers in the comments.
Absolutely. And for next week's episode, we are going to be diving into how do you say the days of the week in Spanish. Plus, we're going to teach you how to say words like today, tomorrow, yesterday. These are critical words to know as a beginner if you want to make travel plans in Spanish. For example, like booking a tour or making a restaurant reservation.
We can't wait to keep building your Spanish skills. This is so exciting. Okay, amigos, hasta la próxima. Until next time.
Ciao, ciao, Spanglish friends.
Thank you for listening to Spanglish Friends. We are both so proud of the time you're investing to level up your Spanish listening and speaking skills.
If you've enjoyed today's episode, follow us and give the show a rating wherever you listen to podcasts. Or even better, tell a friend about the show. It's how we can help even more people on their Spanish learning journeys and continue to grow our awesome, supportive community.
Don't forget to check out our socials, including Instagram and TikTok at Spanglish_friends for even more beginner Spanish fun.
Congratulations on taking another step today towards your Spanish learning goals. Ciao, Spanglish amigos. Until next time.
Hasta la próxima, amigos.